Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on the pilot episode of the new Lethal Weapon television series from Fox, which just began airing as of the time of this recording not too long ago. And I gotta admit, when I saw the preview trailer for this series going back, a couple months now, whatever it was, I really was put off by it. I really didn't feel the vibe. I was really kind of disappointed because the Lethal Weapon film franchise is my all-time favorite action movie franchise, even above Die Hard. I know to some that would be sacrilege, but I mean, they put a unique spin on the buddy cop genre, and the rapport between the actors, Mel Gibson and Danny Glover, respectively, as Riggs and Murtaugh, their respective, surrounding characters, surrounding players, Joe Pesci would be added, Murtaugh's family, and, all this kind of stuff. I mean, just by the fourth film, you really got the sense, and they kind of end it, they cap it off that way by saying, we're a family, we're not just friends, we're a family. And you really saw that through the course of those four feature films. And I mean, comedy, action, drama, it was all represented and well represented. And so when I saw the teaser for this new series, I was like, facepalm at first. I was like, what the hell are they doing? Why are they doing this? I've been a on-again, off-again fan of Damon Wayans' work and going all the way back to In Living Color and even his cameo appearance in, Beverly Hills Cop and such like that. I mean, not very familiar with the other, sort of main actor, Clayne Crawford, who's playing Martin Riggs, whereas Wayans is playing Murtaugh. But, it was one of those things where it still gave me pause, but I was like, well, I gotta reserve judgment. I gotta see the actual episodes in action. A teaser is only gonna tell you so much. It's only gonna give you so much information. And, I think a lot of the hurdle I had to get over was just that gut reaction. I'm such a fan of this franchise. I don't want to see other actors playing those characters. I don't want to see a new version of it. I mean, we all go through that hurdle. Some of us take it better than others. There are people probably hating on this series from the get-go, but I didn't want to be like that. I usually want to try to be open-minded and see if I can like a new interpretation of something in a different way. Look at the J.J. Abrams Star Trek films. As a Trekkie, as a lifelong Trekkie, at first I had reservations, but I watched those films and I can enjoy and actually really like those films while not eschewing away my love for the original series and all the televised series and the movies and such like that. So I went into this really curious, really highly sort of just ready to bite my lip. And what I really loved is from the get-go, they kind of pulled me in. They kind of impressed me. You're immediately introduced to Martin Riggs' character. He's in Texas. He's chasing after bad guys. There's a shootout going on, and his wife calls. She's on the way to the hospital. She's with child. She's about to go give birth. And for anyone familiar with the films, the saga, she's killed in an automotive accident. Now, in the films, they delve into a little more as the movies go on that maybe there was a stronger reasoning. It wasn't just an accident, stronger reasoning behind it, behind that happening, to do with who Riggs was in special forces, his military background and everything like that. And I don't know if this series is going to get into that, not that it really needs to, but it leaves that door open because boom, within the first 10 minutes of the show, she's gone. And this is where we have the Martin Riggs we're most familiar with. He was happy-go-lucky. He liked his job. He sniped the bad guys from, however many kilometers away. And he's about to go to the hospital and celebrate. And this is where he gets that crashing news. Your wife has died. And the child has died along with her. And so he's steeped over an edge at that point. And I love that this is fully represented in this pilot episode. And you have a lot of that same sort of chemistry and the way the characters are introduced between Roger Murtaugh and Martin Riggs in this pilot. Damon Wayans, he's looks like he just had a heart attack or heart surgery, something along those lines. And there's that talk about maybe he should retire, maybe he should give it up for now and everything, and he just wants to go to work. He wants a birthday, BJ from his wife, and he wants to go to work. It's like Keisha Sharp, who plays Trish, his wife. I love the rapport between them immediately. I totally buy them as a married couple. She's gorgeous, and why wouldn't he want some quality time? As Martin Lawrence said in the Bad Boys movies. So, when they first are introduced, there's this bank robbery going on, and it really harkened back to me the Dark Knight Joker bank robbery sort of sequence, where Riggs, he gets some pizzas. I don't know where he gets them from. He just walks into the bank. He's just owning the place. And he's like, look, you got to off somebody. If you really want the cops out there to take you seriously, you got to off somebody. Maybe it should be a white guy, because that'll make the most news. That'll make the most noise and all this kind of stuff. And he gets the guy to put the gun right to his head. This is the Martin Riggs character. In watching this pilot episode, I do think they've dialed back sort of the humor, that the natural humor that, basically Mel Gibson brought to the role. I think some of those more, memorable lines in the films were maybe ad-libs and things of that sort that he did on the spot. So this Riggs is not quite as aloof and funny, borderlining crazy. He's just kind of crazy, pulling this automatic weapon to his head and everything. And the next thing you know, he's taking out everybody in this bank. And of course, Murtaugh cannot stand the idea that this is now his partner. Now, what I think is really interesting, you have Kevin Rom, who's an actor whose name I didn't know, but I recognize his face, playing essentially the boss, Brooks, or Commander Brooks or Commander Avery, whatever it was. Avery Brooks from Deep Space Nine? No. But in any case, he alludes to the fact to Roger Murtaugh that this is something coming from higher up. What does that mean? Why is Riggs being, sort of assigned from Texas? It's a cross assignment kind of thing in LA now. Why is this happening? And this is something that pays off toward the end of the episode that I was really impressed with, that tied back to a very personal aspect of Martin Riggs's life. Essentially we find out the guy who's calling the shots, the guy who has brought Riggs, and gotten him back involved with this particular police department, who's effectively, put it into play that he would partner up with Roger Murtaugh, is actually his father-in-law, played by veteran actor Tony Plana. And the emotion that they keep calling up through the course of the episode, I mean, it felt very much akin to the story beats of the original film, where you're being revealed to the fact that his wife died. You're being revealed to the fact that, the Murtaugh family are finding this out and feeling sympathetic toward him. But Roger's still kind of on pins and needles, because this guy's a loose cannon. He's a lethal weapon. He's going to go off, and he doesn't want to be there when it happens, And all those story beats, all those character beats are on display in this particular pilot episode. And I love that they delve into it even further, where you see the wife, you see the father-in-law, you see how much, the fact that, as Tony Plana's character says, you brought my daughter back to me. She would have gone anywhere in the world with you. That's how much she loved you, but you brought her back to her home, and it was you who did that, and this is my returning the favor, making it so that you still have a job. I love that Jordana Brewster was cast. I didn't know she was in this. She's basically the psychiatric doctor, sort of internal to the police department. I'm sure, Riggs and she will butt heads and everything like that. Although I wouldn't necessarily mind there maybe being some sort of romantic illusions or conflictions there. But again, I mean, I went into this really just holding my reservations, and they managed to dole out every story beat while also making this sort of an original spin on the way the original Lethal Weapon film did it. Instead of having, for example, Roger Murtaugh's daughter being kidnapped by Mr. Joshua and all that kind of stuff, there is a military background with the bad guys. There's some drug running with the bad guys. And rather than having it be his daughter being kidnapped, it's actually the son of someone. They found this guy had been offed, and it looked like suicide, but they suspected something more was going on. and you have these two minds, these two, conflicting cops coming together, analyzing the data and looking it all over and realizing, no, this was a ploy. It was made to look like a suicide. It was a murder. What's going on? They go to this guy's wife, like twice. The first time she's pleading with them. He didn't kill himself. All this kind of stuff. You find out that he was doped up on mood stabilizers or something like that, enough to kill him. But then they blew his brains out to make it look like he killed himself. And they end up kidnapping their son and holding their son because they want the drugs. And by the end of the episode, it has a very sort of prescient feeling of being akin to not only how the first Lethal Weapon ends, but kind of the second Lethal Weapon as well, because you have the one last bad guy shooting Riggs in the shoulder, and then you have that little moment where he's about to go sort of sacrifice himself because he is on the edge. He does want to die. He wants to be reunited with his wife and child, and that insanity. But he's doing it in a selfless fashion because he wants to save Murtaugh. He wants Murtaugh to be able to take this guy out by his exposing where the shots will be fired from. This rooftop sniper sort of aesthetic, and it was balls to the wall awesome sauce, because Murtaugh shoots Riggs in the foot, which gets him down on the ground so he can get his gun, and he fires right at the guy, and all is said and done by the end. And I love even more so the sort of cap, which really does bring back to the fore that rapport that you had with the characters in the films. You basically see, Murtaugh has gone back home. His wife is trying to finally give him that birthday gift. He's been so long, and that quality time he's been so long, and then the doorbell rings. It's like, this guy can't catch a break. First the baby's crying to interrupt him, then there's a knock at the door, then the doorbell rings. It's Riggs, and you have that moment where he exposes the fact that, yeah, he if he could die, he would take it, because he wants to be back with his wife, but he can't do it himself, because his wife would be severely, supremely disappointed in him. And I love Murtaugh's line. Damon Wayans is Murtaugh's line, saying, that's probably the least crazy thing about you, that you love her so much and you don't want to disappoint her in life. And you have such a strong longing to want to be back with her. And then, of course, Trish comes down and invites him in, and no quality time for Murtaugh. So, it wasn't exactly the same feeling and vibe as the original Lethal Weapon films. It doesn't have to be, though. This is a completely new animal, but at least they have such a respect for that material and such a respect for the characterization, the way these characters bound off each other and play off each other. It's represented to the fullest. Now, I will never be able to say, it's better than or necessarily even as good as the Lethal Weapon films, but it is definitely leaps and bounds beyond what my expectations were to go into it. I was thoroughly entertained, thoroughly enjoyed it, and my sister was actually listening in while I was watching the pilot episode, and time after time she said, you told me this was Lethal Weapon, but it's like the new thing, but all I'm hearing, I'm thinking this is Lethal Weapon. I mean, it sounds beat for beat the same kind of thing, and that's what it was. I was really supremely impressed by the end that they managed to get those story beats, that they managed to get the characterizations. I am very much impressed with Damon Wayans as Roger Murtaugh. I'm very much impressed with Clayne Crawford as Martin Riggs. I think Riggs as a character still needs to expand and grow on me a little more, but for what they did in this pilot, for the beats that they managed to recapture from the original film, and the rapport between those characters as these actors are portraying them, they stand out to me as being much, much better than I had anticipated, and I'm thoroughly on board to check out more episodes of the series as they air. And so yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below if you've seen the pilot episode of the new Fox Lethal Weapon TV series, if you were impressed with it, if you really enjoyed it, if you think it's sacrilege, if you're banning ever watching it, not allowing it to be aired in your house. Anything goes in the comments below. But I just wanted to put it out there that while I was very, I had high reservations about it, and I was kind of put off by that teaser months back, showing some footage of it and everything like that, and getting over that crutch of, okay, these are new actors, this is a new take, and yet it's still familiar. By the end of this, I was just won over. I just really thoroughly enjoyed it. So, yeah, otherwise, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.